Hello and welcome to this week's live episode of Bonkers.ie TV. I'm Connor.
I'm Daragh.
And it's the last Wednesday of the month, so we're going to be wrapping up all of the big stories from the world of consumer affairs and personal finance. But to kick us off, Daragh, we're going to be talking about mortgages.
Yeah, so Haven had some good news in the mortgage market because they have launched a new 10-year fixed rate mortgage. So you've probably heard us say a few times if you read our blog that an increasing number of Irish mortgage holders now are taking out fixed rate mortgages. So around 70% of all new mortgages in Ireland are now fixed rates, which is up from just like 20 or 30% even a few years ago. It still trails the EU average, which is about 80%. But up until recently, there wasn't really a huge amount of choice for people who wanted to fix over, let's say, maybe 5, 7 or 10 years. Because, in Europe, you can fix a mortgage for maybe up to 20 or 25 years. That's slowly beginning to change. So now we have another entrant, Haven, which is a subsidiary of AIB, also offering a 10-year fixed rate mortgage. And they joined the likes of AIB, also KBC and Bank of Ireland, I think, in offering a rate over 10 years. So I would expect that, the next move we're going to see is hopefully maybe a 12-year fixed rate mortgage or a 15-year fixed rate mortgage. For first-time buyers, the 10-year fixed rate is 3.3%. So it's quite competitive for a 10-year fixed rate. It's not quite the lowest, though, because it's just pipped by KBC.
Yeah, staying on the topic of KBC, they had some news this month as
well.
well.
So they've been reducing their rates again. So they've reduced some of their 2-year fixed rates and also some of their 10-year fixed rates. One of their 10-year fixed rates for first-time buyers was reduced by 0.55%, which is absolutely great. So they brought that down to 3.25%. So that's just about the cheapest fixed rate over 10 years, which is really, really competitive. They've also reduced some of their 2-year fixed rate mortgages, like I said, and one of them now has gone down as low as 2.25%, which is actually the lowest rate in the entire market, whether fixed or variable. However, the caveat is that is only for people who have a deposit of 40% or more. So realistically, it's not going to apply to a huge number of people. But if you only have a deposit of 10%, so like a normal first-time buyer, you will get 2.3%. So not too bad either. So lots of movement as always in the mortgage market, and ultimately, rates are beginning to lower, which is really, really good. And moving on from mortgages to broadband and TV, because I think there's an excellent offer from Virgin Media at the moment.
Yeah, there is. September is literally just around the corner, so now a lot of people would associate that with back to school, but for the sports fans, you probably associate that with the start of the new football season. And it looks like Virgin Media wants to get in there under the wire with this new offer. So effectively what they're offering is Sky Sports or Sky Cinema for €1 a month for 12 months.
Wow.
And so their basic package of 250 megabyte broadband TV and home phone costs €54. So if you up that to €55, get Sky Sports package with it.
For an entire year.
For an entire year for just €1 extra a month.
Excellent.
It's cracking deal really.
And just on that, talking about Virgin Media and maybe sport as well. So you're talking about Sky Sports there, but can you get BT Sport through the package?
Yeah, so you actually can't get BT. Well, they have released no information as to whether you would be able to add that on. But the whole situation around BT Sport has changed this season. So
it used to be on with the Air Sport pack for free.
It used to be in the Air Sport package, and it ended up getting pulled. We wrote an article about it and caused ructions and all that sort of stuff. But effectively, what's happening is sports rights are becoming incredibly lucrative for companies to ascertain and actually get their hands on. So on your end, what you're noticing is you're going to notice that your sports are getting pulled left, right, and centre. So you're noticing tennis on Amazon, GAA on Sky Sports. And BT effectively was, the rights for BT Sports were bought by Sky at the start of the year. So now you're still going to be able to add BT Sport onto your Air Sports package, but it's going to cost you a good bit. The most kind of efficient way really of getting Sky Sport or get BT Sports is to actually get the Sky Sports package.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can get BT Sport with Sky Sports, with Air, but not with Virgin Media.
Not with Virgin, and there's no information to suggest that you can get it with Vodafone.
Vodafone, okay. Always change, and we have written a blog post on that.
We have indeed. Make sure to head over to our website to check out exactly where you can catch BT Sport, how much it's all going to cost you, and we also, while you're there, we also wrote another piece about just all this year's upcoming sport, where to catch it and how much it's going to cost. So
Cool.
That's there for you to check out.
And on the subject of broadband, so there was some good news for the citizens of Dundalk.
Absolutely. So people frustrated by the National Broadband Plan and the government's inaction to actually bring high-speed internet to places outside of cities, got a bit of a boost this month, as it was announced that SIRO and DigiWeb were actually partnering up to give Ireland its first business park with 1 gigabit per second broadband. And it's not in Dublin, it's actually up in Dundalk. So SIRO, as we know, is the first 100% fibre to the home broadband supplier in the country, promising really whip-fast speeds of 1 gigabit per second.
Good news, I guess, if you're looking for an employment. You know what I mean? Like you kind of said,
absolutely.
So much of the kind of infrastructure seems to be in Dublin, and it's kind of like this is why we have the National Broadband Plan. So many people, I suppose, outside of the pale seem to feel like they're getting left behind with fast broadband. So I think it's really good to hear that like smaller cities are actually getting this investment.
Absolutely. It's gonna mean technology companies and just regular old businesses are going to be able to flourish as well. It's a really, really important asset to hand out, and 1 gigabit per second it's beefy. It's a strong,
it's like it's like 1,000 megabits a second. It's lightning fast. And just what is SIRO again? So SIRO is a joint venture between.
So SIRO is a joint venture between Air Networks and Vodafone. So they built a 100% fibre to the cabinet, fibre to the home. Infrastructure. So what that means is there are fibre optic cables being laid all across Ireland, and rather stop at a box, be it in your apartment building or be it on your road, and then distributed through copper cables. That's where you're noticing most of the degradation of the actual signal itself. So what they've done is they've actually done away with that and brought in fibre to the home, which is bringing those fibre optic cables right into the home, and it's pretty simple when you speak about it like that.
But I suppose really laying down a fibre optic cable literally right into every single person's home and premises and apartment, it doesn't come cheap and doesn't come easy, but I think slowly but surely we're seeing it being done.
Absolutely, it's going to take time, but it's great, fantastic development for business outside of the city for a change. So moving on then to banking.
Yes.
We're going to talk about the European Union, and we're not going to mention the B word.
Yeah, we are not mentioning the B word at all. So the EU has brought in lots of legislation over the past few years, which has been really, really consumer driven. So we had, the end of geo-blocking, which meant that people who were, let's say, in Ireland couldn't be forbidden from buying something in Italy, let's say. We also saw, of course, GDPR come in as well. And now there's another payment, or there's another kind of directive or piece of legislation from the EU that's come in called the Second Payment Services Directive. It doesn't really roll off the tongue quite too easily. But some of it came in January of last year, but it's being fully implemented from the 14th of September. And it's quite a wide-ranging piece of legislation, but one of the key points of the legislation was to make online payments for consumers safer and more secure. So whether that's going into your online banking and making payment requests or transferring money, or whether that's just paying for something online, the EU wants to make that simpler and safer for consumers. And one thing that's going to make it safer is what's called strong customer authentication. And what this means is that going forward, banks and financial services providers will have to ask for a second piece of information when you're carrying out your online banking or whether you are paying for something, to cut down on fraud and to make sure that, I suppose, the person is you that's actually making it. So that could be asking you for your mobile phone number, or in the not too distant future it could actually be using voice recognition software to verify that it is you. So over the next few days and weeks, if not already, you're going to see your bank either write out to you, maybe send you a text, or send you notifications through your mobile banking and your online banking, asking you to give another bit of personal information, whether it's an updated address, whether it's a new mobile telephone number. And it's really important that you follow those instructions and you make sure that all of your details are up to date, because what's going to happen is come the 14th of September, you'll be locked out of your online banking and you won't be able to access it. So, usually I think we have a tendency when something comes through from the bank to maybe, ripple up, and particularly if it is entitled Second Payment Services Directive. But this is one piece of legislation that you need to be on top of and that you need to be aware of.
Yeah, and just anecdotally, I've noticed when I've been topping up my Revolut account, I've had to verify it with a text message that's come through where they will send you a secure digit, like 6-digit code that you have to enter in.
Yeah, so going forward, there's going to be lots of a little more, I suppose, verifications. Some people might say it's a little bit annoying. It might maybe, just make things more cumbersome. but ultimately it's to make, to cut down on fraud as more and more of us spend money and do our transactions online. So ultimately, I think it's good for consumers, and it's good to see the EU, really leading the way in this again.
Another thing as well is you might be able to in the future pay for stuff on say websites like ASOS and stuff just directly with your bank account.
Yeah, so this is what's called open banking is another feature of it as well, and it's basically to foster competition. Because I think up until recently, for forever, the banks have really had a strong grip on the market, a big monopoly over the market, and it's been tough for new fintechs and financial services companies to actually to get in there. And another part of the Second Payment Services Directive is to make banks have to share some of the information with other people. I mean, one aspect of it is that with KBC now, for example, if you're a KBC customer and you've downloaded the KBC mobile app, if you also have...
Which is very good, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you also have a Bank of Ireland account and an AIB account, you'll now actually be able to see your Bank of Ireland details and your AIB details within the KBC mobile app, because as part of open banking, all that information has to be shared. So I think ultimately, again, it'll be really, really good for consumers. We're not really seeing, I think, everything that PSD2 can do just yet, but over the next few months and few years, there'll be lots of little innovative and consumer and industry changing things that'll all be as a result of this.
Yeah, between the European Union's new legislation, N26, and Revolut, the whole banking sector is actually being turned upside down, which is fantastic, and it starts to make you wonder why people would want to pull it apart in the first place.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all from us for this month. If you want to check out any of those stories, make sure you head on over to our blog. If you have any comments about today's video, maybe how my hair looks, I understand I need a haircut, just drop it in the comment section below, and we as always are on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. That's it for us this month. Thank you so much.